Hi, it's Rabbi Adam from Base Miami. There's so much to be said when it comes to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and this high holiday season that we're about to enter. But I wanted to say one thing about the shofar and the power of the shofar, which is like the emblem of the high holiday season. There's a beautiful thought that the shofar does two things. It does something for us, and it also does something for God. There's a lot to be said about the shofar and what it does and how it evokes something within us, but the requirement and the mitzvah of the shofar is, it says zichron trua, to remember the sound of the trua, the sound of the shofar. That's what we have. That's the purpose and the reason of the shofar, is for us to remember it. There's actually a whole rabbinic discussion about if somebody is walking past a synagogue and hears the shofar, do they fulfill the requirement of listening to the shofar? And the answer is no, because it's not actually just about being surrounded by the sound and listening to it, but the sound of the shofar actually has to penetrate within our own selves and awaken within us an emotional response of what the shofar is trying to do. And zichron trua, what is it that we're trying to remember? The first moment of the trua is revelation at Sinai. So the sound of the shofar is there to evoke within us a connection and a realization with the actual moment of revelation at Sinai, a connection with God, whatever that means and however you want to understand that. But the realization within ourselves that there is something beyond us, that there is a divine being and creator. Rosh Hashanah is Hayom Harat Olam. It's the creation of the world. It's the holiday, and it's the day that marks and designates the concept of God over creation. So that's, when we hear the shofar, that's the experience we're supposed to hear. But there's also an idea, there's a short little paragraph that's read after the blowing of the shofar throughout Rosh Hashanah, which if you have a machzor and if you're going to synagogue, I encourage you to read. It's very fascinating. But that the sounds, the blasts of the shofar, the sounds that are made are metaphorically woven into the divine garments. They're woven into God's crown and into God's clothing, and it's a beautiful symbolism and an analogy of how what we do here and the experiences that we have in the world somehow have some impact in God's world and in God's existence. And that listening to the shofar and awakening our own inner selves has a simultaneous power of also establishing God's kingship over existence. I think it's a really powerful imagery there, of the connection between how we experience the world and how we experience life, and how that actually really has a powerful connection with God itself. So as we go into the holiday season and we think about who we are and who we've been and who we want to be, which is part of the whole Rosh Hashanah experience, part of that delving inward and inner searching of our own selves has this power of actually also manifesting in God's existence. And that by searching inward and searching and listening to our own hearts and assessing who we are, all within our own selves, that has a manifestation that exists in the world outside of us. So thinking about who we are and who we want to be, it's not actually just about us. It's about how that manifests in the world around us. And that's what the high holiday seasons are about. And the sound of the shofar are there to evoke an experience and an emotion within ourselves so that we actually realize that we are a part of something greater than just ourselves. And that's a thought I wanted to leave you with for Rosh Hashanah. So Shana Tova to all of you. May we have a year full of health, happiness, and blessings, and only good things.